Welcome to the CIO Show, where we interview tech executives and learn firsthand about their experiences and ideas on all topics related to tech, business, and innovation.
Hello, technology friends. This is Alex Pitagoy speaking with Greg Taffet today. Greg, thanks for joining us on the CIO Show. And
my pleasure.
I'd appreciate it if you would add a little bit more color and share a bit about yourself as we proceed.
Okay. I have been the CIO of several different companies over the years, and currently I am the CIO of my own company. Previously, I was CIO at US Gas and Electric, helping the company grow from a small startup to a multi-billion-dollar organization. So, and I have a lot of fun with helping companies grow and helping them, expand and scale.
And at Taffet Associates, is business consulting your main component? What shout out would you like to share about that? You're welcome to do so.
It's a CIO as a service. So yes, it's business consulting and helping other companies with their digital transformations.
Digital transformation based, perfect. Well, if you could share 2 notes of wisdom in your area of expertise for peers or individuals hoping to get into the technology sphere, it could be technological or business strategy based. I think that would be a great way to delve right in.
Okay, so a lot of companies try to take advantage of the latest and the greatest technology, and they don't realize that their businesses are not ready for those technologies, or their infrastructure and their data is not ready. So before you want to jump off into a new technology transformation or help your company grow and scale, you got to make sure that the company itself is ready for this sort of change, or you then have to backtrack a little bit and help the company get up to speed on the things that will be necessary to go into the future. So I think that's the biggest problem that I see with a lot of companies right now, is they want to adopt a lot of new technology, but the business people and a lot of times the actual end users of the technology aren't ready, nor do they have the infrastructure from a business process point of view to handle the new technology.
Indeed, there's a lot of legacy systems out there that necessitate a creative way of transforming the digital landscape.
Exactly.
Would you share something you've learned this year, or might I say year and a half, that has significantly changed your outlook or your organization, Taffet Associates?
It's in many cases with the COVID and working remotely, we have been concerned with the way the customers are going to accept the technology. And in many cases, we have missed a significant concern and process with how the users and our own employees are going to work with the technology, and bringing those employees up to speed and making them comfortable is just as much an important step in the process as it is to get the customers and the vendors and all your partners up to speed with the technology. And I think that's been the most important thing for a lot of companies to work with and figure out how not to overburden their employees and not to underburden their employees so that they stay motivated while working remotely.
That's a great business lesson. And would you also share the biggest challenge of your career and with what takeaways you were able to walk away?
The biggest challenge has been when I've been working with a lot of nonprofits, and they have had their business cycle turned completely upside down because a lot of them are really oriented towards providing face-to-face service with their clients. And now with the clients not able to be directly contacted, many of these companies have had to figure out a technology implementation to be able to provide the same level of service and care that they're used to providing in this, post-COVID world.
That's an interesting point. I've done some work with Lighthouse for the blind previously, and I didn't think about it that way until now. How have they adapted quickly and still receive services remotely?
Right. The most vulnerable and the most important people that we need to help are the ones who have the most challenge now getting that help when they can't be, I was working with a company that provided music therapy, and providing the right quality and the right ability to get that therapy to people remotely was a major challenge, not only for the clients, but also for the providers.
Absolutely. Can you think of a particular incredible moment or realization that changed your career around overall before COVID?
The biggest thing was the ability to look at a company not just as a technology, but as a business, and to understand what the users really need, because a lot of users don't even have the capacity to ask the right questions because they've been just in their one company for years and years and used to doing things the way they're used to doing it. And they look now to us, to help them understand the alternatives, not just from technology, but from a business process point of view.
Indeed. And on a personal level, what excites you during these sometimes limited and other times quarantine periods of time? How do you feel you've grown personally?
It's been a challenge. I mean, we've learned a lot more patience over the last year of not being able to just immediately walk into somebody else's office and have a ad hoc conversation. Now everything is much more structured, and you have to be patient and wait for, a time when people are available to have a meeting. It's a lot more structured and a lot more rigid to be able to, talk with people nowadays. The water cooler conversations and meeting people in the break room just doesn't happen.
Indeed, prioritization has been infinitely important recently.
Yes.
And if we reflect on your overall mentorship journey, what would you say the best advice you've received has been from a mentor?
It's always to treat all advice with the same level of acceptance and criticism. That when somebody gives you advice, the worst thing you can do is say, I'm not interested, or I already know that. Receiving advice, you just have to be as kind as the person giving you advice, or else people stop giving you advice and you lose out in the long run.
Absolutely. And recently, what mentor has most impacted your life and how?
I would say the president of the venture mentoring team, a group of mentors that I work with, has been most impactful in helping me to really fine tune and learn how to become a good mentor, not just a good manager and not just a good boss.
And what can you share a nugget of wisdom from there? What do you think is most important on how to be a good mentor versus a good leader or supervisor?
I think it comes back to the most obvious thing of listening first and providing advice second, as opposed to going in there and just trying to tell people what to do. When you're mentoring people, they have lots of good ideas. And the idea is to figure out how to encourage those ideas by listening to what they're doing and figuring out how to provide advice to help them help themselves.
Indeed, we do have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yes, that old saying is very, very true.
And if we're looking for a daily habit that's well contributed to your success, what would one daily habit be?
That one daily habit now is getting up in the morning and doing some exercise to help wake up, and then meeting the day head on, fully awake and alive. as opposed to I see some people drag into work having gotten up before 5 minutes before their first meeting. And you can tell that they're not fully, oops, do I have to move? They're not fully engaged at that point.
And what would you recommend to your listeners or our listeners who want to do what you do?
I think it's become well-rounded, not only be a technologist. A lot of people are into the latest apps and all the programming languages. I think that some of the things that are most important are your ability to communicate both in a conversation, orally and written, and in a presentation, so that you can get your ideas across to people and that you can have a good conversation with them to understand what they're talking about. The best people and the most productive people that I know are the ones who are able to elicit from people the information that they're looking for and have a good conversation on a personal and a functional level, not just on a technical level.
Indeed, and you beat me to it. The next question I had is, what unique website, app, or business tool would you recommend most to our listeners?
There's the tools. I just found one today, was GreenSpot, which helps in the ability to take snapshots of your screen and be able to use them in emails and highlight them and edit them. It is the one that I found today. There's so many of them out there that, it's hard to pick. So just the latest one is my choice for today.
Well, I appreciate that. And if you had to go back in time, Greg, and switch careers entirely, what would you choose? What do you think you would do?
I would become a professional scuba diver.
Fascinating. And where does that stem from? Just an interest in ocean or a hobby?
I originally in college was studying becoming a marine biologist and found out that there really weren't that many jobs in marine biology. And in marine biology in school, I learned how to use computers. So my vocation became my avocation, and my avocation became my vocation. And now, years later, I'm looking at it and saying, there's a lot of work to be done with coral reefs, a lot of work to be done with saving the oceans. And I think I would become much more involved with that side and the ecological side of the world if I didn't fall into this computer profession.
Fascinating. I was just speaking to someone who said, they abhor when people ask them what's their failure or where could they use improvement, because they looked at repeated failures as ultimately a success. It's funny to hear that from you, that ultimately the road not taken is the one that led you to your successful career. So I guess
yes,
it's worth pointing out to people that you never know what doesn't work out today is leading you on that better path. So and keep going, right?
Right.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Greg. If we could wrap up with your final note of wisdom and the best way listeners could stay in touch with you.
The best way is my email. It's Greg, Greg, at taffet.org. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Greg Taffet. I think I'm the only Greg Taffet on LinkedIn. So it should be easy to find, and I'd be glad to connect with anybody.
Perfect. And in terms of final note of wisdom to the professional sphere and technology at large, or listeners that are hoping to enter into technology, what would you say is the most important?
When I give lectures to high school students, I tell them that the most important thing that they should learn is how to think. Because to think and be able to construct a good argument and to understand a good argument and be able to be persuaded by that is exactly what you need to be able to construct an algorithm, to construct a technology business solution, but it all starts with thinking and being rational in your ability to construct an argument, construct a process, and to understand when other people have done the same for you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of CIO Show. For more info on what we're up to, visit us at cioshow.com.